Project 95 in your house. Live. Or something. I got this one going. Yeah, baby. I should get some promotional dollars for my pimping out of We Are Rewind and their nouveau line of I think Walkman is actually a copyrighted trademarked phrase I can't use. A portable cassette player. I'm listening to the tape despite its poor sound quality, just in the spirit of this whole Project 95 thing. If you read the initial post, this was a big show because for a bunch of reasons. I've been on tour, but I haven't, like, because I took that big chunk off, like basically November. And in that time I was hanging out with all these people. I was really excited to finally go to shows with them. And I went with Dever to UMass. I went with the whole Tyler crew and my brother and Vespucci to Niagara Falls. A small Tyler faction went to Cleveland. Davis was actually at Cleveland too. That I want to say I ran into him there. I wonder if he remembers that. I feel like I did. I don't know. And now, this was another night like that where a bunch of people we were going to meet there. And having been out on tour, there are people who have been listening to Phish longer than me. Fisher, and Davis primarily. And I always felt like I wanted them to be impressed, specifically Fisher, because I didn't, but Davis too, to some extent, but I just, I didn't see Davis that much. So this night it would that would play out for me. I wanted to be like, hey, I know a lot about this band too. And he's Phish being the guy who, sort of took me under his wing. I just wanted to prove my worth, kind of thing. So having all this experience and now, this new me, this new version of me as a Phish head is powerful. Maybe not powerful. So this was, I mentioned, it was in Binghamton, which is the city in where I currently reside and have for the past 25 years. Yeah, we moved here in 2000. So that's kind of cool. It's also, we're running out of shows here, right? The fall tour is coming rapidly to a close. After today, there's Philly tomorrow. There's 2 nights in Lake Placid to close out the tour, and then the New Year's run, which I will be covering for Project 95, not to worry. So we're kind of running out of shows too. So each one is starting to take on a little bit more meaning. And as I mentioned, not just Fisher was there, Riley was there. It was his birthday. He brought his future wife, Amy, with him. Who is friends with my current and future wife, whatever. And one of their friends, Cheris, and Romans and Baudo, who I went to Pittsburgh with. You can go back and look at that story. Romans, who's an OG jam boy from high school, they came from Buffalo. I was there with my ex, who this tour was a very controversial a time in our relationship, as she quite infamously thought all the money I had saved for the tour should and could have been put toward an engagement ring. We were not communicating very well at that point, apparently. So I was actually kind of surprised that she still went with me to the show, since I had been gone for months. And anyway, she did go, and I think it's our introduction to Keith Consalvo, who is one of Riley's recruits. He will be explained in more detail in a few days when we get to Lake Placid. So just tonight was 12/14 was one of these, and then they go on to sort of immortalize the show as one of the first live Phish releases, the CD versions, before they even had live Phish, the website up and running. So I remember, the first thing I remember about it was running into Connie in the lobby, like in the concourse. Like, we came up the stairs and she was there, I don't know, overseeing ticket, whatever it was, and had a really brief conversation with her. And she was like, this was kind of interesting, just getting the backstage logistics as this tour went on. Like, I explained there's no backstage for randos on New Year's Eve, but the other nights there were. This was another night where she's like, they're going straight to Philly from the show. They're going to literally walk off stage and get on the bus and go to Philly. There's no backstage for anybody in Broome County Arena. So I was a little bummed, because I wanted that flex, to be like, hey guys, you want to go backstage? But she shut that down pretty quickly. I was like, it's cool. And I'm like, still good for the 28th and the 30th? Still good for that. So that was kind of a bummer. Although I don't know if she would have had 8 backstage passes. But, I mean, maybe. I don't know. So this show it's really unique, I feel like, in its construction. They open with Susie. Again, I can't explain to you like how goated Susie was as a song in the 90s. It was. It's hard to explain. I'm trying to think. It's like the Jordan of Phish songs. It was huge in the 90s, and everybody loved it, and they crushed it, and it was just, and I can't think of the equivalent now, a song that people love, who might say, oh, Susie, that's kind of, it would be the LeBron song now. Maybe like Say It To Me Santos, maybe? I don't know. In which, if that were the comparison, like, fuck you right off the bat. Just like the Jordan LeBron debate. Susie's 100 times better. Like, stop. But a Susie opener kind of sets a very specific tone for the night. And it really never let up. It really didn't. Like, Susie Llama, then we talked about this maybe a month ago, 2 months ago or something. Horn, right? Horn is such a great pick as a decelerator, right? The show's going, Susie, everybody's amped. Llama takes it up a notch. Decelerate, right? Restraint, pull back. But it's horn. It's not, I don't know, one I don't like, right? They always have that chance to choose violence or to choose peace, right? And they chose peace this night. Horn is such a perfect song to drop right there. Before Foam Makasupa split. Now, Foam got an exclamation point. Makasupa got 2. I feel like those songs had been kind of out of the rotation in terms of like a 5-night thing. These were probably more like 10-night. I can get into my whole algorithm on how they choose songs, and some of it has come to light recently in interviews with Trey and Mike online. You can hear them talk about how the set list gets to where it is. And my primary theory is that they have not just one list, but a number of lists, and there are songs that they have in a 4-night rotation, songs that they have in like a 8 to 10 night. They have a list of bust outs, and they kind of go through and strategically choose kind of how those cycle, and don't cross over and overlap too much and like all that kind of stuff. Anyway, Foam 1 exclamation point, Makasupa 2. The split had a cool air band ending, as you can see there. Like how many nights ago in Albany. But this ended the song. I remember the coming out of the jam, right? Well, that melted to nothing, and everybody in the room is like counting it in their heads, which is what I do most of the song. I usually try to count it and then be on beat when they come out of the jam. It's just fun. But this was literal air, but nothing. So everyone in the room is counting. They're pretend playing. They're air banding it. And then I think all you hear is stuckabuka dickabuka so that was pretty fun. Then Tila. Like Tila. Like, it's just, that's a rarity. You don't see Tila a ton. So, I mean, think about that run right there. Susie Llama, Horn, Foam, Makasupa, Split, Tila, Fog That Surrounds, which is not called that at all. But at this point, I was just being consistent. Then this I cannot explain. So that set is like near perfect. Then they play My Sweet One, and I give it 3 exclamation points. Best song of the first set. What? Like, unless it was because I was with my ex and I was like, oh, because you're sweet. I wouldn't, but that doesn't make any sense. Like, I wouldn't have done that. And then followed by a Frankenstein, which gets 1 exclamation point. But you take, and not that I don't love My Sweet One or whatever, but if you take that out, like this is literally a perfect first set, and the vibes were good. It just felt good to be at this show with, you know, most of these people. And then the second set comes out, and it's an absolute screamer. And again, not like just a lot of wrinkles along the way. This felt different than you can see why they chose this one to be a live Phish release, like when that meant something, because the second set is atypical from many of the versions of these songs are atypical. Like I'm just thinking about the NYCU, the NICU, and the Haleys are just, you don't hear versions of those songs like these. So they open with Curtain, and they go into Tweezer Timber Tweezer. So it's a timber sandwich, but the bread is tweezer bread. It's like a thick sliced tweezer bread. So these are some tweezers. This is a tweezer that kind of very quickly deviates, and then all of a sudden they're in Timberland, and they sort of murder that. They coming back to the tweezer was, I think, another of, again, these wrinkles that they threw in, that I think zagged when you thought they were gonna zig, or that the tour up to this point had led you to zig and they zagged, if that makes any sense. And it's a heavy page night, and they come out of Tweezer, they do Piano Army. Yeah, I'm in this timber back into Tweezer right now on the old deck. But then they go into Halley's Comet, and this is a atypical Halley's Comet. 3 exclamation points I gave it, but it also goes into mayhem afterwards. So there's a lot of mayhem in here, and I see you. There's a big page outro. I think that's the NICU. That might be the Haleys, but there are these distinct sections of these songs that was new territory, basically. You know how now when you hear a song that isn't typically jammed out, when they extend it out, nobody bats an eye. They can jam anything at any time, right? But hearing songs like Halley's and NICU get these wrinkles was new territory for everybody in the room, right? And probably the band too. Like, you're seeing them in this explore mode, you're getting to see them in real time, like doing this kind of stuff. So Halley's got 3 exclamation points, probably including the mayhem that that followed. But there's a lot of this really like racing rock and roll. Like, I'm listening to the back end of the tweezer right now, and just like really rapid fire stuff, and then they get a nice segue into NICU, and then Paige kind of does this coil-esque piano outro, and if you listen, I'll never forget this. I was standing with Fisher. I mentioned at the top of this video how he was like my Sherpa, my guru, my Phish, my Phish mentor. So I just wanted to, show him my chops and stuff. So if you listen, about 30 seconds left in the NICU, there's a little tonal shift, and I heard a note, and it sounded like Slave. And I remember turning to him. He was standing with me and Romans. I turned to him, I go, "Slave's coming." And he kind of looked at me like, okay, like, whatever, like, how do you know that, or whatever. And sure enough, 30 seconds later, opening notes of Slave hit, and we both kind of, it was a moment. And I found out just today that was Phish's first Slave, and how just he recalled the same situation. And I'm like, did I call that, or am I making that up? He's like, that sounds about right. But I specifically remember that, and it was just, that was everything for me. Like, it made, I felt like it made the whole tour worthwhile after, all the I'm not saying people doubted that I would make it, but just all the sort of things I had to get through to do that, the better judgment I had to ignore, and things like that. It was all worth it for that single moment. They played a great Slave. Not as good as My Sweet One, however, because this was only 2 exclamation points. But just one of my favorite memories of all of my Phish memories is that one. And then Trey quite famously comes out and plays Axis off Bold as Love, off a sign in the audience. And he said something like, you got to bring a sign, but you got to bring a sign of a song we want to play, because someone else thought they were going to play Brother, interestingly enough. Brother was rumored to be on the hung up, basically, and it wouldn't come out until Clifford Ball, summer 96, and I was there, and I was standing with Baudo, and I absolutely lost my shit. I don't know if he remembers that, but so the other sign was Brother, and that guy was like, yeah. He's like, no, we're not that sign, this guy. They played Axis, which is great encore. So yeah, good stuff. This was an all-timer, and unfortunately I had to go to Philly by myself the next night, to go from like, oh, all my friends, and then back to, but Lake Placid, I went with Riley and Consalvo, and there's some stuff there. So I'll see you tomorrow in Philly. Don't be late.